Hi, welcome to Blacticulate, a podcast series featuring UK young black professionals, where we find out how they do what they do, so you can too. Or not. After all, it is your life. Now, I want to say to the audience, you are not ready. You are not ready for this conversation.
Are they?
But I don't know, they most likely are ready. Okay, so guys, once again, welcome to another episode of Blacticulate. As you know, I have candid conversations with UK black professionals, try and extract, tools, habits, patterns. So hopefully if you're considering the profession that my guest is doing, then at least you know how to almost navigate it. But again, it's not necessarily going to work for you, but hopefully you get something out of it. So hey, Damola, please throw it out. I normally throw it at my guests instantly, not why you're here, but what do you do? Who are you? Introduce yourself. Let them get a flavour of you.
I am 31 years old. I work in advertising at a London-based advertising agency. We're sat in one of the meeting rooms right now. It's called BBH. I used to be a banker, so I made the transition. I'm not as actually, I was going to say I'm not as dull and boring as a banker / accountant usually is, but I don't want to offend anyone out there that is listening to this, considering that career, because it works for many people. It just didn't work for me.
I'll get some bankers and they'll fight you. Don't worry about it. They'll fight you.
No, I mean it's interesting for the right people. It wasn't that interesting to me, but anyway. So yeah, I'm 31 years old. I work in advertising in London, live in London, play in London, and enjoy my time both working and everything else in the city. So it's been kind to me. And what am I doing here? Speaking to you, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've literally answered it so thorough. It's crazy.
Well, I like to be thorough.
Yeah, I throw it to loads of my guests, and they'll just be like, "I do this," and I'll be like, "Okay, so let's find out how you got here." Do you know what I mean? But I like it. You threw your age, you threw your industry,
just in case people wanted to know, But yeah, I guess I'm sat here with you today because a friend introduced us.
Shout out.
Natasha Litton.
Boom, boom. A WeWork celebration, yeah. So she was there hard at her graphs, selling.
Oh, really?
Nah, okay, I'm joking. She was like, you got to order, you got vouchers here, use my coupon code.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah, she's a hustler.
Blast, I don't.
No. She'd be like, yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. But yeah, no, she's cool. So yeah, I guess, and then she put us in contact.
Yeah, because cool. I mentioned my podcast, and she was starting to get into podcasts, and she thought you'd be a brilliant guest.
Little did she know.
Yeah, yes. So let's backtrack. I often try and backtrack. Damola, it's Nigerian, right? Mm-hmm. Were you born there or were you born here?
No, I was born in Hammersmith in London.
And you pretty much lived in London all your life?
Yeah, for the most part. So, born in London, lived in London for a bit. Family then moved out to Kent because of school. Get close to school, blah, blah, blah. Most people understand why. School, need to be close to it. Went to university in Leeds, so went up north. Came back down south, did a master's in London, went back up to Scotland, or went to Scotland to work, came back to London, and I've been here ever since. So I've
you've travelled.
Been around.
You're a travelled UK man. What did you study?
I studied accounting and finance. So
hence banking was almost the natural progression.
Yeah.
So why didn't you enjoy it? Can you see the questions? I'm trying to join the dots as to why.
How did I end up in advertising, having studied accounting and finance? I guess growing up, I was always interested in the creative arts. I did a lot of theatre. I did a lot of creative things. I was interested in
acting theatre.
Yeah. Okay. So I used to act, and I used to dance, all of that. Reese / RS would be like, triple threat.
Okay.
I was a bit of a triple threat. I used to, dance, sing, act.
Yeah.
I wasn't bad at math.
Oh damn. Okay.
So I did a lot, and then
and Leeds is a fun place as well to be at.
Oh yeah, no, but this was way before university. I was young into this. But no, I just enjoyed doing creative things and always tried to express myself
was it beaten out of you? Well, beaten might not be the right word because you're
I don't know if you can say that these days. Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
be real.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
because you enjoyed it, so why not pursue that?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed and I was good at quite a few things.
Right.
But the focus was always education, but not necessarily education for the sake of education, but education for the sake of future stability and all of that stuff. So naturally, that being the objective, how can we make sure that, you know, this boy is able to survive in the world, right, in this country and the rest of it?
That was your parents' objective.
Yeah. And what is the best way to do that was what drove their kind of guidance. And it was like, right, actually focus on your education, do something that you're reasonably good at and that will lead you to a future that is prosperous. That's the sole objective. And I never really personally pushed I want to work in the creative arts. Right. It wasn't something that I chased as a profession, or
you didn't see it as a profession. You just enjoyed it.
I just enjoyed doing it, and I never said to myself, I want to do this for a living. Right. And I could have probably, you know, done other things straight off the bat. You know, could have gone to university and done specific things, but I was the one who pursued internships in finance in my teens. I was the one who went and, you know, my parents and my family, actually, they went to Brazil on the holiday. I think I was 16, maybe 17. I can't remember. But they went to Brazil on holiday and I was like, I want to work. So I went and interviewed, got myself a job. In fact, that summer, I was like, I'm determined to work and I want to earn some money. Nice. And I went and interviewed at McDonald's.
Okay.
And I got the job. This was McDonald's in Bluewater, so biggest shopping centre in Europe at the time.
Yeah, Bluewater in Kent.
Yeah,
sure.
And I was like, okay, cool. Interviewed there. They gave me the job. Got the uniform, and then the day before my first day, I was like, I can't do this.
Okay.
So I didn't turn up to that gig.
Your first.
I was like, you know what? No.
The uniform put you.
I mean, I kept the uniform. I kind of liked it, but I was just like, you know what? This is not what I'm passionate about. And right. If it's for the sake of making money, but also gaining experience, let me, you know, do something else. So I ended up working at Bupa in the head office in their legal team. Okay. And I did that for like 3 weeks.
In the legal team?
So that was
at the age of 16, 17?
I think I was 17. I think I was 17. But you know, that was cool. Prior to that, I'd worked at the FSA, the Financial Services Authority, for like a week or 2 weeks or something like that.
How are you getting into these sort of organizations?
I mean, I was quite fortunate having, you know, family or family friends that
right.
were in those places. And you know what? The only thing that I needed to do was to ask and express an interest and say, actually, you know what? I'd like to see what it's like in this place. And my parents didn't stop me. They're like, fine, go and do it. And I had no issue, you know, making that happen.
That's a common occurrence I find anyway, personally. Like, it's nepotism, you know, it's almost a case of who you know to get into certain spaces.
Oh,
I mean, without trying to be disrespectful, but I think that's an art form as well. Like, you have to learn how to network, right, to get yourself in spaces. Would you agree?
Yes. But I think, so never was the opportunity presented to me as an opportunity, and then I went, yeah, cool, I'm going to do that.
Okay.
It was always auntie or this and that. What do you do? Well, that sounds interesting. Can I come and like work shadow you for a week? And the reason why I balk at the word nepotism is that it suggests preferential treatment.
Yeah, as if you haven't earned it.
To an extent. But I don't see it as preferential treatment as such. It's allowing someone to seize an opportunity. All they said was yes. They would have said yes to anyone else who asked them for that opportunity.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. If they knew that person was serious and was capable of doing the job. So the lesson I take from that is you need to be willing to ask, and you need to be able to demonstrate your capability and competency at the point when the opportunity is given to you. And I had done that previously, and I think that approach has been what I've continued to use in my career. But I think there is a very thin line between that and nepotism, which is we're only going to give people who have access to that opportunity the chance to enter in. But there has to be an element of people seeking these opportunities out.
Yeah, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, I don't disagree, but I think the wheels oiled a little bit nicely or nicer.
Well,
you know,
I can see. I've been So I think there's absolutely easier passage, definitely.
Yeah.
But without the person walking to that door, no one's gonna open it. If you don't walk to the door, knock on it, nothing happens.
So how do you get people on the inside? Do you know what I mean, to help you?
I think it's quite easy these days, to be honest.
Okay, give us advice, please.
I think what I didn't have when I was growing up and looking for these opportunities was information about the people who held the key to those doors.
Right.
Prior to so actually after the experience of Bupa, after the experience of the FSA, myself and a friend, we set up a small little, not even business, it was just a thing we wanted to do. We were going to Ecuador for a month with a bunch of our friends. Yeah, it was cool. And again, I said to my parents, look, I want to do this thing. I want to go to Ecuador for a month and just hang out there. It was like, again, I was around 17, turning 18, so I was still quite young to be doing that, but it's like, it's a cool thing to do.
And your parents were on board with that?
It took me, I had to persuade, I had to really, I mean...
I'd love to see that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I had to really... Yeah, exactly. I had to properly persuade them. I was like, look, this is going to be good. This will be good for me.
Right.
And then it's like, how much is it going to cost? Into the thousands. I'm like, don't worry, I will find a way to make the money, which I did.
Right.
But beyond, finding opportunities and organizations to work for in order to get experience and make money, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to try and find a way to make money for myself. Me and my friends set up this little production company, and we basically ran what was a kind of precursor to X Factor across Northwest.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
explain.
So we was like
a precursor to X Factor.
It's talent shows. We were like, right, okay, we're going to run talent shows, and we're going to invite people to come and watch the performances, and then people are going to judge. And then you're going to have performances in the interval at the beginning and at the end.
And you charge people for this?
Yeah.
Amazing. What was it called?
Star Search. So there's a Star Search back in the day in America. There was a program called Star Search, like really, really old. And we essentially adapted that model and said, right, let's run these talent contests. And we did that. We made money, but that was like, let's ask the question. Let's do the legwork. Let's make sure that we can actually, make these things happen. And we went and asked people, can you sponsor this? Okay, cool. Can you present? So we got local radio station presenters to come and host the show. We just need to ask the question. Got some label guys to send their like up and coming talent to come perform, and they're like, yeah, fine. But the first thing
you make that sound so simple.
It was very hard, because the thing that you have to think about is, how do I get access to the people that will give me these things? Right. Whether it's access to people that will give me, talent, that give me money, that will give me access to a venue, or to a job. Right. And I guess the point is, these days, it's a hell of a lot easier than it was then, because there's this thing called the internet and there's this thing called LinkedIn, and literally that person, that opportunity is a couple of clicks away. Yeah. So if I wanted a job in the BBH, the first thing I would do as a 17-year-old is go to their website, look for an email. But to be honest, that's not the smartest way in. Okay. Smartest way in is you go to LinkedIn, you search BBH, and you find someone in that long list of names, and you message them and you ask them, not, can I have a job? It's like, tell me about what you do. And then if they respond, which a lot of people probably would, that is your opportunity to go, I'm not asking you for a job. I want to understand what happens inside this building. Mm-hmm. And that understanding is information you can use to then plot your next move. If I know that this is what happens inside this building, my next conversation is, all right, I understand what happens in this building. How do I fit into that? And what's the next step? And so for me, it's all about just finding the information that allows us to have those conversations, ask the questions. Ask the question, they can only say no. If they say no, go somewhere else, and they might say yes.
No, that's amazing. And I don't think many people think like that, like at all, with all due respect. I mean, I think a lot of people, they don't want to do the legwork, if that's fair. As you've just alluded to, it's very easy. It's almost 2 clicks away to be in front of the gatekeepers, for want of a better word. So at the moment, we've got you like, you know, you're triple threat or quadruple threat, you know.
That was a joke.
You're very actually humble. Actually, know you personally, you're very humble. So we've now gone to university, we've studied finance, and then you decided from that you were going to go into banking. Or was there something in between? Because I think you had a startup, didn't you?
Not immediately. So basically, after I graduated in my final year, I wanted to get involved in the student union. I'd been involved in the student union from a kind of, you know, everyone is involved in societies and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, university's fun. There's lots of things you can do.
Not everyone, but is that a good thing to do?
Yeah, for me, it was the best thing that I could have ever done when I went to university. You know, you're obviously there to learn and face your books and all that kind of stuff. Right. But learning isn't just about books, really. For me, it's just about understanding people and trying to, you know, understand myself at the same time. And also do the things I was passionate about. So again, that common thread of wanting to be more creative than that, you know, my studies will allow me to be. Right. Meant that I went to university not just to study accounting and finance. I was like, I'll do more creative stuff. So I presented on the university radio station for like 2 years, joined a dance society, did a bit of acting, all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So I was like, okay, let me, you know, continue pursuing my passion for creative stuff, and that got me involved in the union. So that involvement in the union exposed me to the other things that the union kind of provided for students, and that was quite integral to what I did after university. So I stood for election for the union exec. So the union executive essentially run the union.
Okay, gotcha.
On behalf of students. Right. So it's like students representing students, so they can continue to, you know, create the same opportunities for the people that come up after them. Right. Gotcha. For those who have been to uni or are going to uni, you'll have things like the president of the university union, the sports officer, the education officer, all of this and that. So I ran for election.
Got President Obama in the house.
Well, no, hardly. Too many things in that closet. And cut that out. So I ran for election. Leeds University Union don't have a president role. Right. So I ran for the next best thing, which is communications and democracy officer, and that job essentially put you in a position of being the spokesperson for the university union and the student body at Leeds University Union, and also on the other side, in terms of the democracy part, it was about, I guess, managing the governance of the union from allowing people to participate and have their voice heard and shape the future of the student body, right? Student union, and you'd represent the student body not just to the university, but also to the stakeholders within the city. So you'd be the person that, you know, if something happens within the student body at Leeds, they'll call the union, what's your point of view on X, Y, Z? And I would have to, you know, say, we feel this and that.
Diversity is good. Diversity.
All of that stuff. But yeah, it was a fantastic year. We did a lot of interesting things, but I think most importantly, what that gave me the opportunity to do was transition from being a student to being a professional, because it was a job. Right. You got paid to do it. And the responsibility was quite significant. I mean, you're the spokesperson for 35,000 students the year that I was.
Did that help insofar as resume as well?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of does. I mean, the most important thing is the grade on the paper. Right. Okay. That's your, you know, that's the
marker, the measurement.
Foot in. Like if you don't make the cut grade wise, you're not getting a step into the door. Right. But once you've got your one foot in, you bring the other foot in with the other things that you do, not just the books, but, you know, the extracurricular things that surround it, because they demonstrate particular skill sets. So that's cool. So after that, I went back to London, did my masters, and then after my masters in strategy and entrepreneurship.
So now that to me seems more of a fit insofar as where we currently find ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that whole thing of going from accounting and finance, doing that communications and democracy officer role, and then doing my master's in something broader was essentially me testing the waters for things outside of the financial world, but not fully committing to going in that direction at that stage. So I was like, I've done my undergrads. My parents were like, it's a secure job, they'll pay you money, pursue it. So I did. So I got a job in banking. I'd done like banking internships, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I did
This was throughout your uni, like the internships, or was it straight post when you had time?
No, it's throughout university actually.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
I spent my summers
working or getting experience for sure.
Exactly.
You'd highly recommend that, I assume.
I mean, it's probably the best thing that you can do if you are serious about getting a job after university. Get some experience, and the experience as relevant as it can be to what you want to do afterwards, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
If you don't, any experience will do. But I think it gives you an idea of what working actually means.
Right.
When you're in an environment where things are expected of you, it's not just on your time, it's on someone else's time, and that time equals money. You realize that work is a very different place than what you imagined it if you've never been in the work environment before. So yeah, I would thoroughly recommend it, and not just internships as well. Go and do real work. I worked in Clinton Cards one Christmas. That was real work.
That must be hard as well. That must be the busiest time, Christmas.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. You're like having to reorganize cards every 10 minutes, and someone picks up one card here, drops it there, and you're like. I worked in JD Sports when I was 16. And that was again,
everything.
That was work, hard work. And
I mean, retail's a good environment for you to understand the demands really of like the consumer, like big time, and just having to try and make things look or represent the brand and the company, I guess. So so I'm with you now. I mean, I'm loving these dots now. You got the masters in strategic communication. And then you worked obviously for, what was it, a year or plus in the banking?
Yeah, it was about 2 years.
Okay, so you stopped. Why? There was a transition. I know, was this the startup aspect?
No, not even that. So that
you've got many hats. You've got many hats.
I've done a lot of things in a short period of time. And that's not necessarily a good thing either. But so I left.
Is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing? He says not necessarily
a good thing. There are definitely...
pros and cons to everything, I guess.
There are definitely things or implications of doing several things in a short space of time.
Okay.
But I left banking. I looked around. I didn't enjoy the work. Two, the timing wasn't probably the best timing.
Okay.
So I started my career in banking pretty much the day the credit crunch started.
Right.
So in the line of work that I was doing,
it was 2008. Was this a housing crash or whatnot, the bubble burst?
Yeah, was it 2008? Yeah, about that time.
Right.
About that time. There was no equity in the market, so I was working in the private equity department within the bank, and it's like, if there's no equity, there's no movement, there's nothing interesting really happening. So I wasn't really enjoying the dynamics of the job. I realized it didn't really suit my skill set.
Okay.
I could do it, but when you're like forcing it. I was forcing it. I was really forcing it. And I wasn't enjoying that. And I knew that I could do other things better than I was doing this job.
Right.
So there was that in terms of skill set and fit. So I was like, this isn't quite it. Put my finger on what it was. And I got incredibly bored. And no one likes to be bored at work. No. And then on top of that, I looked around and I was like, I don't want to be any of these people when I'm 40. So, you're surrounded by people that are older than you. They have their lives, their wives, and their whatever it is they do.
House, kids.
All of that.
Yeah.
I'm like, fine. All of those things are things that I want, I aspire to have. But the way in which you experience those things in your life is not what I want to experience in my life at that stage.
Right.
I don't want to have the same mentality as you in terms of what you appreciate. When I was in the bank, I was a little bit more creative and maybe flamboyant than the other people that started up when I was, I'd go to work wearing a tweed jacket and I'd be like, this guy wearing tweed before. I'd have I remember one time wearing like purple jeans. I'm like, we'll all go out together and I'm this guy wearing purple jeans and this weird jacket. I'm like, okay. Or, whatever. It's just being different was unusual in that setting. and being a little bit more creative was again, different in that kind of setting. And I was in a very uncreative industry in finance. Some people would argue it's creative, but not in the way that I enjoyed or perceived creativity. Okay. So I didn't enjoy that. And
so you're looking around in the market, the landscape,
seeing... I was like, I want to do something more creative. Right. And I was like, what can I do? I'm not an artist. I'm not going to become an artist. That's nonsense, because I can't paint, I can't draw, I can't do any of those things. Right. I picked up photography actually whilst I was working in banking, which I pursued quite seriously, or I continue to.
You still do it?
Yeah. And I've made something of that. But I was no artist, but I enjoyed creativity. So I looked for an industry that was where I would be able to combine my creative side with my commercial, I guess, acumen that I'd picked up over time working in the bank and my background.
What do you mean by commercial acumen? Do you mean business sense?
Yeah. So like advertising is where creative meets commerce.
Precisely.
In my mind, because we're here to sell. These agencies, we help brands create desire for their products, and therefore people then buy them. But we do so in a creative way.
Seems like a good fit.
It felt like the best fit. But you know what? I remember sitting down and chatting to a good friend of mine, and like, I want to leave banking, but I need to leave this thing. It's like, what will you do? And he was like, I don't know. He was working in the marketing department at the time, and I always knew like marketing could be a thing. I
would do. In the finance industry, he was working.
Well, no, just in general.
Oh, he was just marketing.
He was
freelance.
No, he was a marketeer. He was working at Mars at the time.
Ah, gotcha. For brand
in their marketing grad scheme. So I had some kind of understanding of marketing as a thing that you can do, and I'd worked as a communications officer at Leeds. So I was like, comms is a thing, marketing is a thing. Could I go into marketing? If so, what kind of marketing would I get into? And me and Faisal at university tried to set up this kind of, we tried to set up a web design business. So we build websites for small to medium sized companies. If we'd taken that anyway seriously, we'd be very rich right now, but we didn't. Yeah. It was just a thing to put on our CV so we can apply to a bank and go, look at us, we're entrepreneurial and we're like enterprise and we can do things. We should have taken that seriously, because back then that wasn't a thing. If we had continued, we would have built a very, very successful agency, but we didn't, and that's fine.
No.
But hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Hindsight is a bitch.
Yeah. You look back. I look back on several things that I'd thought about or started and half-heartedly kind of pursued, and then dropped, and then went, that's that now. Oh man.
Is this a pattern of you?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a common thread. Definitely a common thread, but no regrets really. But yeah, marketing was the thing. I thought, right, let me try and find something that I enjoyed. We've done this internet thing, and I was, into computers, into digital, into the internet. I was like, right, let me find a place that's doing something interesting in marketing and digital and whatnot. I bumped into a friend of mine on the train, and she was working for a digital agency. I can't remember what it's called now. So I kind of had an idea of what this thing was, but it was still opaque to me. Right. So whilst I was still in banking, I applied to this social media agency called 1000 Hertz.
Yeah, I know them.
And I can't even remember what I'd applied to do. Maybe it was like an account manager or something like this. I was like,
just wanted to get in there.
Wanted to, yeah. I was like, I could do that job, sort of thing. So I could do that. Went for an interview. Like, you're a banker. Like, no, mate, forget it.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
You didn't get the job?
I didn't get the job. But then 6 months later, when I was like, I'm still serious about leaving this, I went back to the website. I looked at what they were doing. There was a job role position for an analyst, and I applied. And I was like, no, I'm back.
Right. Look at that tenacity.
And that I can do that job. I do data analysis in my job right now. You're just giving me different data to analyze. I can do this job.
Yeah.
No problem. And that second time I got the job.
Nice.
Which is good.
So then you're officially in a sort of creative
So I'm
industry.
now in a creative environment and working in the creative industry. So I've made that transition. Quit my job in banking, go to this place, sit there going, okay, this is kind of cool. I can wear what I want to wear. I can be who I want to be. I can do the kind of work that I think I want to do.
Right.
I had no idea what I was doing really, but I thought I'd try it and see. took a massive pay cut. That was horrible. Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And at that point, my life, essentially, my professional life changed.
Right.
If I'd stayed in banking, I'd have been there doing my thing, be getting, payroll, like getting bankers' money.
Yeah, getting some change. For sure.
Exactly, and I'd be that person working in the bank. It's like, fine. And I know those people, and they're my friends, and it's cool. But I see their life and I see mine now, and I definitely go, at that point when I made that decision, life changed. So anyway, I worked at 1,000 Heads for 5 months.
5 months?
Yeah.
But I didn't stick out the years.
No, I mean, 5 months was enough. 5 months was enough for various reasons. But,
right. I like it. You're not going to get into it. Was it something to do with culture here or the actual role itself?
So I'd made the transition, and I was like, I'm an analyst and I'm doing this job, and I kind of fine. I'm doing insights reports, and I'm digging up for insights and looking at what people are saying online and trying to interpret that and make recommendations for what the business and brand should be doing next.
Yeah,
that's all well and good, and I happen to enjoy elements of it. When I was applying for different jobs from the banking time, I'd applied to, or I'd done my research, looked at all these agencies that were doing like digital stuff. One of those agencies was Dare. And I'd sent them, like I said, LinkedIn, go to a website, you hunt down these people's names, you find out the email address, you find out the structure of the email, you send them an email, and you're like, right, here's my CV, this is what I'm about. I'd emailed a few people at Dare, and no one got back to me.
Right.
No one got back to me. And I was on my desk one day doing my analyst stuff, and I was bored. Went onto Twitter, and there was a tweet from Dare saying junior planner position available. At this point, I'd kind of got a better grasp of what the structure of the agency, the kind of roles that were within them, and I was like, okay, I know that this thing called planning and strategy was probably more suited to my skill set, but I hadn't pursued that within the agency I was at the time. Anyway, I saw this tweet from Dare looking for a junior planner, and I was like, okay, let me tweet back, and we're like, yeah, hey, so I'd love to do this job.
Did you tweet by your personal social handle
or
your company's?
I was like, yeah. Well, it wasn't 1,000 Heads. So like,
we've got a guy here who's
immediate sack, gone. But no, I tweeted. I was like, I'm interested. I don't know whether it was before or after I saw that tweet. I'd emailed the first time. There's a blog that was written by a lady called Helen Lawrence.
Helen Lawrence?
Yeah, who was a woman who was heading up the social team at Dare.
Okay.
And I, responded to
some of her articles.
One article that was specifically about looking for a junior planner. I was like, look, I'd love to get this job. Here's a link to my CV, and it was on my website at the time. Then I saw I saw the tweet, responded to that, looked for the job posting, left a little comment on the blog. I was like, hey, listen, I'm about. I think I could do this job. Here's a link to my CV.
So you came at it from all angles.
Yeah. I was like, okay, fine. Now I'll stalk you a little bit and just like. But yeah, I was quite persistent with that and got an interview. So I went to the interview. Helen interviewed me with a guy called Nick Emmel, who was a head of strategy at Dare at the time. They grilled me, and it was cool. I enjoyed that. I was like, okay, this is robust, and they're smart people, and the atmosphere seemed really cool. And I got the job. So 5 months into 1,000 Heads, I was like, if I'm going to transition, I might as well be doing something within this environment that I actually think I'm good at, not just analysis, which is what I was doing. So let me just try and go as far into it as I can. So yeah, I got the job at Dare.
As a junior planner.
As a junior planner, and specifically focusing on social and digital. And that was a great part of my development and career.
As we currently sit, because currently you are still a planner.
So I'm a planner now. And so that was essentially my kind of, what do they call it?
Your path, your rungs, your first step to your
exactly. So that was where I was kind of like learning the ropes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jesus. You've given us a thorough background, and let's really talk about planning and what makes success and what doesn't in that sense, and we'll take it from there. Anyway, this is a conversation. So, what is planning? And maybe you can then contextualize it into BBH? Like, give maybe an example of.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to seriously expose me because I mean, there's a kind of classical approach to strategy and planning, and I didn't come into planning from a classical brands planner / strategist.
Do most planners do that? Is that the route?
Yeah, if you were to say, right, I'm a planner, I'm a strategist. A lot of people go into an agency, they're learning brand strategy, and they come into it from a very traditional point of view. I came into it from a non-traditional route.
Yeah, help us out because to define those.
I guess. Actually, you know what?
Yeah, give me analogies. My man's bringing out his phone. He's gonna give the planning Bible. Truth, lies, and advertising.
Well, essentially, I think because if someone's listening to this going, I want to work in this kind of industry, and I give them some nonsense definition.
That's absolutely fine, though. It's your definition, and hopefully I'll get others who may potentially corroborate or counter it.
Yeah, and I think
it's still. I still really would like to get your.
I'll give you my interpretation, but I think it's interesting coming from. Actually, I think it's better to explain how an agency is structured.
Yeah,
because this was the thing that I didn't understand before I got into this, and people kind of come into it and like, what the hell happens in an ad agency? Really simply, you have a combination of teams that come together in order to solve a brand's problem. Those teams are your account team or your client services team. They're the suits, you might hear them being called, and they essentially look after the client. They are there to look after and understand what the client needs. Sometimes they're to win business. They're to guide the account from a financial point of view, process structure point of view.
Right.
Well, that's the way I see it. So your suits are there to look after clients, keep the team, as it were, kind of operating effectively, and to essentially be there for the client as and when they need what they need.
They're the voice of the client within the agency, and vice versa. The agency's voice within the client.
Yeah, and I think what they do is also help to manage the relationship with the client. That's the way I see it. For me, the primary thing, you're managing a relationship with someone, and the purpose of doing that is so you can represent the client's voice within the agency, and then represent the agency within the client business. Yep. So you got your account team, and then you have your creatives. Everyone should know what they do and who they are. They're the people that generate the ideas that people see in the real world. So TV ads, banner ads, billboards, print ads, all of those things. Those ideas come from the brains of people that they call creatives. You have producers. Producers essentially translates the creatives' ideas into real things. They go, right, your idea is this, right, we'll make it happen. We'll make sure that that vision that you had in your mind can physically manifest in whatever medium we've decided to put that idea in. And then you have the strategists. The strategists are essentially, from my point of view, there to interpret the business problem, the business problem that the brand has. So a brand will say, we need to do this, we need to change that, we have a problem with this particular thing. We are there to interpret the problem and provide a solution for the brand. And set a direction for the brand that takes them from that problem to the solution. Does that make sense? It
does. I mean, fundamentally, they're using your brain and your skill set for you to actually deduce, not deduce, that's not the right word, but for you to provide a solution for their business problem.
Yeah.
Right? And that could be a plethora of things, be it from launching brand awareness to actually sales bottom line.
Yeah.
So then you get the nugget, the core insights, and then you translate that, or you don't translate it, then you pass it on to the creative department.
Yeah, so I guess if you've got a problem, if the business has a particular problem or a challenge,
an opportunity. Blacticulate is failing,
Yeah, okay, so that's never going to happen. But anyway, so there's a problem there. We need someone to help us understand how we solve this problem. Part of that solution is not just understanding what the brand Blacticulate is about and what makes it really interesting and distinctive that is compelling for your audience. Part of the solution is, what the hell do people think, what do they need, what do they want, and why does that need or want correlate with what the brand can offer, and how do we bring those two things together? So I go, what is the brand problem? How does the brand's offering at the moment address that problem?
Yeah.
And how does the consumer interact with what the brand offers? So what can I tell the consumer about your brand that will make them go, yeah, I want to listen to Blacticulate? And you're asking, and what I'm telling you is that you should tell them this specific thing about Blacticulate, because I think that is the most compelling thing for the consumer.
And obviously, you don't plug that out thin air. There's a load of data and research done behind it.
Yeah.
But I often wonder why, like, clients themselves in-house don't have those insights.
They do. They will have some insights. They will understand, or they should understand, enough about their brand. They should understand who their consumer is. But our job is to kind of go beyond,
challenge it almost as well.
To challenge that understanding, but also go beyond what the brand can acquire in terms of knowledge about their consumer. Our understanding of the consumer is something that is one of our strengths as an agency, as a strategist. It's your job to really understand the consumer, but also understand the context in which your consumer is in.
Right. Yeah.
And take that understanding and distill it down to an incredible insight.
That's not easy.
So I'm still trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. So question is, anyone who's listening, what makes a good strategist, specifically in the creative industry, for them to consider this path would be something that they might be good at?
As in what should they be good at, or?
Yeah, what skill sets, what not characteristics, but actual what skill sets, I guess, thrive within the professional.
Yeah. So I would say there are three components of my job and the process that we go through in order to provide strategic advice and support for a client.
Okay.
It's short-term, medium-term, and long-term.
Right.
The more senior you are, the more your strategic advice kind of dictates a long-term direction and vision for the brand.
Right.
And that, the junior level, your strategic kind of guidance kind of informs campaigns, maybe short-term planning, medium-term planning, long-term planning, like setting the vision for the brand is at the top end of that.
Okay.
But the three components of getting to that would be understanding the consumer. Understanding the consumer is super important, because if you are communicating something the consumer doesn't resonate with, then you've kind of lost.
You've lost it. Yeah.
You're speaking something there. Understanding the brand. So really being able to understand how the brand works, what makes the brand interesting and distinctive, and understanding how to take that and communicate it. So what is it about that brand that we are communicating, and how do you do it in the clearest way possible and in the most compelling and motivating way possible for the consumer? And then understanding the context of the communications. So I'm as a social strategist, which is how I started out, I'm really close to the consumer, because there's heaps of information and data that come from what people talk about online.
Yeah. And
it's from that I understand what consumers really think and feel about your brand, and I can use that understanding to help you tailor and adapt your communications.
Yeah. Okay. I get that.
But that comes from an understanding of the context in which people are, talking about your brand.
But what makes someone, I guess, it's a difficult question, and maybe you might not have the answer to it, Damola, but I'm wondering, do you need more empathy? Do you need more rational thinking, more motive? What sort of characteristics? Yeah, so I guess you need to be curious first and foremost, regardless of what kind of, planning or strategy you're in. You need to be curious. You need to want to know more about the consumer. You have to want to know more about that brand and how it works and what the problems are, what the opportunities are within it. And you've got to be able to understand how those two things come together. So curiosity is, I think, the kind of key component of a strategist. How curious are you about brands? How curious are you about consumers? Those are two things that I think really help you. And then depending on what kind of agency you're in, like how curious are you about culture, and how does culture inform the kind of strategy I'm glad you've jumped on this culture, because let's not beat around the bush, it's quite homogenous. advertising creative industry.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, right?
Yeah.
And Damola, I think everyone can know this Blacticulate and I interview, UK Black professionals. How's that hindered or how's that helped your path?
I mean, yes, I'm Black.
What?
You might not be able to tell from my voice. I don't know. But I'm a Black guy working in an agency that is full of white people.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. It can either be perceived as a hindrance personally or a huge advantage. And I think I've always worked in white environments. I went to school in Kent. Yeah. And you can imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
I lived in London and then moved to Kent, and you can imagine what that's like. I went to university and it's, majority white people. I then go to banking, full of white people. I go to advertising, full of white. There's one common thread there. I've always been a minority. So the way I see it is, I understand how to operate in this environment. I don't forget the fact that I'm Black, but I don't allow that to be a precursor to the way I approach work. I approach work in the way that my personality allows me to.
Right.
And I think, yes, part of that does come from my background. My personality is definitely, it's influenced by where I've come from.
Yeah.
Culturally. But I come into this and I go, yeah, I'm Black. And actually, that's a good thing because I can add some perspective to the work that we make here that isn't the same as everyone else's. I can offer an opinion that isn't necessarily shaped from the same place that everyone else has come from. Yeah. So I only see it as a positive thing.
Are you given that space though?
I don't think you need to be given the space to be who you are if you're in the right place.
Okay. Is
my personal opinion. And I've never felt like I had to either black up or, become more anglicized and Caucasian in order to get by. I'm just doing things in the way that I feel I need to do them.
Because, I've got issue with the notion of especially like cultural fit and whatnot, right? Yeah, everyone always goes diversity is great and it makes good business sense. In fact, statistically, you can see it. There's been reports, even the newest one, the McKinsey report, has shown how diversity makes good business sense, right? And creativity output is so much better, I think 35% higher in a more diverse work environment than none, right? Yeah. However, that being said, I tend to find that, regardless of if you have diversity within a workforce, it's all about assimilation to the culture of the actual brand. Not brand, the actual company. Mm-hmm. And so basically I'm always trying to ask you challenges within you navigating this space. So when anyone who is listening, they can be like, yo, okay, that's the realness, that's the truth. Okay. Because you don't get this. You really don't get behind the,
right.
The doors.
Okay. So you're a Black person entering into the workplace. Mm-hmm. And you might be acutely aware that you are one of few Black people in this place. You can either step into this environment and go, I need to change in order to get through.
Rise 3 days rungs or something like that.
Or even just get through the day.
Okay. Jeez.
It's like, do I need to change the way I behave in order to get through the day? Not even to be successful. Do I need to change the way I interact with people in this place because they're white and I'm Black? Just so I can get through the day. And when people think that, like, oh man, should I have to change the way I behave in order to get by? Is it going to affect the way people perceive me? Is it going to be a hindrance to my progression? Is it going to be a hindrance to just making friends or things like that? And adapting or assimilating being perceived as a negative thing. And I go, it doesn't matter what environment you are in, whether it's work, outside of work, social setting, party, not party, whatever. Everyone changes the way they behave based on the environment they're in. Yeah. That's how humans have survived. Evolution requires us to adapt to our settings in order to survive. That is the only way humans have got to where they are right now. So assimilating, changing, adapting, whatever it is, or however it is we want to characterize this kind of behavior, is absolutely necessary in order to survive and thrive. Right? So the question is, how much does one have to change the way they behave in order to survive the day, to survive the career, to make it work for you? and how do you feel about that? I think is the question. And I go, well, if you went to a party and you look at the people and you're like, okay, there are certain types of people in here. There is no way in your mind you have not said, I need to behave in a certain type of way to fit in here.
Right.
It doesn't matter everyone in that room can be black. But I'm telling you, you've definitely thought about what do I need to do in order to ingratiate myself with these people, because that would be beneficial to me. So I don't see there being any problem with doing the same thing when you enter into the workplace and you realize that, one, we're different. And what difference means is that we have to find a way to communicate with each other better. And I go, actually, the only thing I want to be able to do, regardless of wherever I am, is communicate well enough with the other person receiving what I'm saying to understand exactly what I mean.
Okay.
So I get into BBH, I'm black. And I want to make sure that everyone in here that interacts with me understands the essence of who I am.
Right.
I don't want anything to get in the way of that understanding. I don't want them to go, this guy behaves or speaks or does things in a certain way before they understand what I say. So if I have to knock down a few barriers in order to make sure they understand what I'm saying, then I'll knock down those barriers so they hear me loud and clear. And what I'm saying is not prejudiced by whatever their biases might be. And okay, fine, that might not be comfortable for some people. But when I've seen certain things and I go, the main problem here is, as a black person, we've not acknowledged the fact that there is bias, unconscious or conscious bias in an environment. Without acknowledging that, there is no way that you can amend or adjust or adapt how you communicate so that the other person properly understands you. So I'm like, all you need to understand are the basic principles of communication. You need to be understood. And whatever gets in the way of that understanding is not going to help you. So if you come into a place where people don't understand that a certain type of behavior is not threatening whatsoever, and you come in here and you don't change, then they're not going to understand you. What they're going to encounter first is their own bias.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so you alluded to the understanding aspect, but I think from my perspective, and this is only me, I'm all about the value. So fine, you can understand me, but if you don't value my input, you don't value what it is I bring to the table, then I'm not going to feel great. I don't feel significant, do you know? So my blackness isn't something I wear on my shoulders. I know the ironies I've got at this podcast, right? It genuinely isn't, but I don't shy away from it. I need to ensure that, you know, people understand. I'm not saying you do, Damola, because of fact, you've actually given an example that you don't shy away from it. But I need to make sure that they understand that actually the input in which my difference, my cultural references is bringing to the table is actually equally as valued in the mix.
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't feel comfortable in that space because they need to survive, then it almost, for me, feels like it's disingenuous. I don't know what... It's difficult, do you know? And this is a conversation that I guess we can always have to the nth degree, and there is no necessarily, solution, because each to their own in this case. Okay, so I want to actually just...
But hold on, I just want to go back to that, because, I mean, the world is not perfect. People have prejudices and biases, and I'm like, okay, fine. I don't care whether you as a white person opposite me probably cross the street or clutch your bag or whatever. I understand that. So what I'm going to do is not give you the opportunity to use that as an excuse to misunderstand me. I know all the value that I bring to the table, and you will see the value that I bring to the table if you're able to do away with whatever prejudice or bias you bring to the table. Unfortunately, I've not encountered that here.
Okay.
I've not encountered that here, because the thing that they value is your intelligence and your hard work, and you don't get through the doors if you haven't demonstrated that already. So it's like, it doesn't matter where you come from. In fact, it matters that you're different, because if you're not different, then you can't create work that is different enough to do the work.
To cut through.
Yeah. So they value that here, but I get it. There are people that will go, it's really white here. Can I feel comfortable in this place, behaving the way or speaking the way or eating the food that I want to eat? Can I bring jollof rice into the office?
Everyone loves jollof rice.
Yeah.
That's not a fair example.
Look, okay.
Everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, so when I was working in the bank,
right.
One day I brought Eba.
Ooh, that's strong though.
And FO into the... I was like, I'm going to eat my lunch. I don't
bad
care.
though.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna eat my lunch. Look, the way you bring your haggis and whatnot into the room and eat it, I'm gonna bring the food that I like to eat into the room and have that.
Right.
That's me bringing my blackness and my Nigerian culture right into your nostrils because you can smell that all over the office.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't care.
Right.
But what I'll make sure I do is if it's an affront, so I'll explain. And what they don't get from me is they don't understand. Rah, 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 rah. I'm like, look, you want to have a taste? Cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to see what this is? Fine. I'll explain it to you. But I disarm them because I understand where their bias and prejudices might come from. So I have to address it because they're not going to address it. So I might address it by,
So you never see it confrontationally?
No.
And it's okay if it is. Okay, Damola, well, geez, we can talk forever. So I want to almost just give it the free rein. You've sort of explained what planning is, you explained the creative industry and the departments. What's success for you? Like, what does success look like? Because I think I asked you a question last time, and I was like, if money isn't an issue, job security isn't an issue. What are you doing? What are you changing? What's like, what is next? Because ideally, if I do bring you on for part 2, which I hope to do, and hopefully we can arrange time in our diaries, I almost want to check you on that. What you said was next.
The thing is, in the time that you'll come back and you say, so how's it been going, whatever, I probably wouldn't have achieved what in my mind success means. So you might have to come back in like 10 years.
Okay. What is that route? What does that 10-year success plan look like? The moment you put it out there, it becomes real.
Yeah, but to be honest, I think it'll probably change. By the time I get to 10 years, I'm like, actually, this is not what I want. But in 10 years, I don't know, I doubt I'll be working in advertising. I think I want the freedom to create things that isn't necessarily communications. I'd like to create things, and I don't know what those things are.
Okay. So unfortunately, no one who's listening can help you create things that you don't know what is.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, the reason I ended up in advertising is because I wanted to be more creative, and that ambition hasn't disappeared.
Right.
Advertising allows me to be very creative in the context of a business.
Yeah.
And I think that if the opportunity arose, I would make things that aren't communications, whether that is product, whether that is arts. So photography is a huge passion of mine, and I work on lots of side projects outside of work that are photography based.
I throw it out there. What's your photography handle? How can we see some of the work?
You can go on my Instagram if you want. It's Damola_T. So I take photos, but I like to help other people showcase their work. So I curate exhibitions and kind of put other people's work out in the world. I want to do more of that, but also want to do it in a meaningful way. So it's not just here's lots of pretty pictures.
Right.
But
I have to bring you back on to explain how exactly you do that.
Yeah.
I'm man of many
happy
hats,
to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing that for a while, and I've curated a few exhibitions, helped quite a few people, get their work out into the real world. Because you kind of set it free from a phone, and you see it on a wall, and you're like, actually, that's
amazing.
That's interesting. But I think photography has the power to deliver a message beyond just that looks good. So I like to do that kind of stuff. Putting together a few projects at the moment that's more kind of anthropological, so just documenting the diversity of London to start with, and then maybe doing it on a UK scale, but that's still kind of back of a fag packet type plan that I'm putting together. I've done it once before.
I'm looking forward to that one.
But yeah, trying to pull together part 2, make it bigger, make it more impactful. So success in 10 years will be doing more of those kind of things. But I'm still stuck on this being black in the workplace thing. It's still on my mind because I think whenever this subject is very, very interesting, but also I think spiky, because some people will be like, do you have to white up to be successful at work? Do you have to sell out to be successful at work? What does it mean being black at work? Blah, 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 blah. And let me tell you, I mean, in this place, maybe there are, maximum 10 Maybe more.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
How many staff?
About 400.
400.
In this
so
building.
there's in this building.
I would say, let's say maximum 20 even, if
Okay.
that, right? So
Right.
20.
20 staff that are black out of 400.
400 people.
Okay.
And being black in the workplace for me has never been better. It's damn good because 1, I'm different. 2, my difference is valued. 3, I can be as black or as non-black as I want.
Yeah, whatever that definition
Whatever that is, you know. I can adapt and therefore I can evolve and I can thrive. One day I can be walking in, and I did, in this really nice Letterman jacket, baseball cap, jeans with a bit of a sag, some sneakers on. Could have been in a
going to a board meeting with Mars.
Well, you know, like I could be meeting clients that day. I probably wouldn't dress that way if I was meeting clients because I don't want to allow their bias or prejudice, if they have any at all. I'm not saying they do, but if they did, I don't want their perception of me to get in the way of what I'm saying. I don't want them to hear me loud and clear and understand me, and I will take away anything that gets in the way of that.
Yeah.
But if I know I'm not meeting clients and I know everyone in here is cool, because they are, I'll come in here looking like I might be in a rap video, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I certainly stand out, and that's never a bad thing if you stand out for the right reasons and you're able to deliver. Because at the very front of all of this is, if you can't deliver the work, then
you're out.
It doesn't. None of this, whether you're white, black, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you can deliver the work, you can be whoever you want to damn be.
Do you see yourself as a role model within there? Because you've been here for quite a long while now, haven't you?
I've been here 2 and a bit years. Not necessarily a role model, maybe an example of what, being black is, and being black in a different way, I think.
Yeah.
Actually.
So internally they don't come to you, for want of a better word, a black check?
No.
Okay.
No.
Would that offend you if they did?
No. Okay. I think in certain circumstances, it's probably the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because no one here has necessarily... Some people won't have the reference points and might want a different point of view, and that's fine. Okay. And I think... So actually, just one more story. Internship program, it's fantastic here. Where people come in, they spend 6 months to a year working...
It's called Homegrown, isn't it?
Homegrown, yeah.
Yeah, Homegrown, okay.
And, there was a guy that came in to work here, he was black, Nigerian. And I'm like, cool, that's good. That people are getting the opportunity to come in here and work. On merit alone, this is not about we need to...
Fill the quota, yeah.
It's like, he went through the process. But he got here and didn't perform.
Okay. And
not that he couldn't perform, he didn't put the graft in. Didn't conduct himself, in my opinion, in the right way.
That being?
Just lots of things. But the things like that may or may not reinforce negative stereotypes. There were those kinds of things as well.
Flesh it, elaborate. Because again, if someone is listening, it's almost like, okay, so these are the sort of things that I need to be aware of, not necessarily saying to change, but at least be aware of.
All I'm saying is, when you're in a place, be serious about it. Okay. Don't, just because you get in doesn't mean you can suddenly just relax.
Right.
And just be any way. Would you do that at home? No. Would you do that in a place where you're surrounded by friends with a project you really cared about? No. But if you're going to, seek out an opportunity, knock on that door, get in, you need to understand where you are. And whether you see it as a negative thing or not, you might have to adapt just so people just...
I want you to give me that story. What did he do? I mean, have you got specific stuff?
I don't think he did anything specific.
But he just didn't perform.
But he didn't perform. And you know what? When everyone else around you is not black, and you're the black person, and you're coming at this in kind of like some kind of way, I mean... For me, that was disappointing. Right, yeah. I was like, you get in, you work hard. You don't give anyone any reason to question your commitment and your ability. Because everyone knows if you're black, you have to do twice as much, if not more. Yeah. So you do twice as much. You didn't even do half as much. And I'm sitting there going, here's someone who's received the opportunity and you just flopped it.
Right.
And he's the only one that cohort that didn't get a job at the end of the internship. And you know what? It wasn't about BBH. It wasn't BBH discriminating. It wasn't BBH looking at the color of his skin and not giving him a job. It was him not doing what he needed to do to prove that he deserved to be here. So there's a lot of times when I think opportunities are granted, but those opportunities aren't met with the same enthusiasm as the point before you actually got the chance.
Did you intervene just out of interest? When I say
I sent him an email.
Not like face to face.
I didn't want to, come across as that dude that's like, "Yo, pull your socks up." No, I sent him an email like, "Look, I heard that there's this project, and are you getting properly involved? Are you doing this? Are you doing that?" Nonchalant email, but everything's cool. And I'm sitting there, I know everything's not cool, but I'm saying, dude, look, great opportunity. Make sure you put in the appropriate effort, because I think that you will really enjoy it here, doing things that you want to do. But you need to do yourself. And I would have done that for anyone who I see, and I think, you know what?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you feel I say not responsible, but do you feel? Because I'm someone who, even just my podcast, as you can tell, I'm someone who's all about trying to just send a lift back down, so people can actually come up with me. Because you've heard the expression, the rising tide lifts all ships. So if I do find myself in an environment where obviously I'm a minority and I see other minorities walk through those doors through their own merit and stuff, within the environment, I'm going to just try and ensure that they know that I'm someone that they can go to if they need to sort of navigate the space to ensure that they succeed. And I'm unashamed to admit that. I will happily be biased, but in a positive way, just so if they are slacking or whatnot, I'm like, listen, this is what you may need to do in order to ensure that, again, you're successful within this environment. This is just me personally. Yeah. I'm not trying to throw that on you.
Yeah. I would help anyone. Regardless. Sometimes you just feel like, yeah, actually, you know what? If I was in that situation, would I want someone like me to help? And I would. So I would reach out. But I just feel like,
because there's a thing with blackness, isn't there? Like, if you are, it's almost like if one black person does something, then obviously everyone's got to be like that sort of thing. Whereupon, like, I'm going to counter it with a white person does it. It's like, well, that was just Jim. That was just James. So that's why I feel like we've just almost got to be more united in our approach.
I think there is a need for mutual support. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you see someone stepping out, regardless of whether it's in work or out of work, I think if you feel like you have the capacity to help, then you should definitely help. I think that there is a duty to provide as much advice as you have the capacity to provide, which is why I think this kind of thing is important. This kind of podcast is important. So yes, there is definitely a necessity to kind of help where you can.
Yeah. So speaking of which, then, Damola, let's wrap this up. How can, if you do want my listeners to get in touch to get more advice, or guys as well, I always ask you if there's any questions that you wanted Damola to answer and I didn't actually ask him, or we didn't get into it in this conversation, by all means, do give me a shout. But I'm going to throw it back to you. How can they get in touch if you want them to? LinkedIn, email,
LinkedIn,
Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, LinkedIn's called Damola Timeyin. That's Damola. Surname is Timeyin. Or Twitter at Damola. So that's Damola.
What? That's it? You got that handle?
Yeah, of course I did.
How?
I was the first.
Fam!
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, I've been on there since.
So you beat a test in it?
Huh?
Or you won like 1,000?
I wish. No. I was on it from a long time, maybe 2007.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much when it started.
Yeah, so I was on it real early, but that's I'm old.
At Damola Guad.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what? I had that for Instagram, then I changed my handle, then some other Damola got that. I was gutted.
Yeah.
But also, like, genuinely, from a career point of view, BBH is probably the best place I've worked within this industry. And like I said, it values people that are different.
Yeah.
It needs more people that are different, and it wants more people that are different, whatever that difference is. So I would definitely encourage people to
look it up.
Because like I said, if there's anywhere that's good to be black in advertising,
you can't go wrong with BBH.
Yeah, it's great.
So guys, find him on LinkedIn, like the advice he gave, and ask him about it. Invite him for coffee, maybe cook him some jollof. No eba and egusi though, because that's strong. Okay, guys. Once again, thanks very much for joining us. Hey guys, we really appreciate you listening, and if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comment section below. Also, all the info about the guests, the links and the resources we speak about will be in the description below. And last but not least, please do get in touch if you can teach us how you do what it is you do. Because after all, Blacticulate is all about empowering and upskilling the community. Thanks guys, you're the best. See you soon.